The intersect object snap looks like two lines crossing, and with it active, anywhere I have two lines that intersect, either a line, arc, or circle, then it will find an intersection point. So if I'm intersecting an arc or intersecting a polyline, then I will find my object snap lighting up. Next we'll look at our extension, and I'm going to leave intersection on while we use extension, because extension works well with other object snaps. So we'll say OK. Now when I get a line, when I go to the end point of a line and I start to move away, you can see that an extension, or a small dotted line, is showing me where this line would extend to. With my intersect turned on, I can click to where this line would intersect, for example, this circle, and start my line there. I could go to the end point of like a polyline here and start moving away, and here it finds an extension of that line and it shows me the intersection of where it would intersect this line. I can use an arc and it shows me how this arc would extend to an intersection of this line. So it allows me to project where an endpoint or where a line or arc would end up, so I can create geometry off of that information. Next we'll look at our object snap for insertion, which looks like two boxes. I'm going to activate that, and when I get a line, an insertion point like text, you see that that lights up. So an insertion point on text or a block or an attribute would act as a snap point for starting a line. Next we'll look at our perpendicular object snap, which looks like a perpendicular line with a perpendicular symbol in the corner. So we'll select that and say OK. And now when I start drawing a line, when I see my perpendicular object snap light up, as I move this around, that line is going to stay perpendicular to the line I started on. If I get a perpendicular on a circle, it's going to create a line that is perpendicular with the center point of the line. And if I'm not able to find a perpendicular point, perpendicular will not light up. Perpendicular is handy when I want to draw a line across and make sure that that line meets the other line at 90 degrees. Next we'll look at our tangent object snap, which looks like a tangent where a line meets a circle. I'll start a line, and this is only going to work with my circles. Tangent is one of these object snaps that doesn't like to find a point to start on. So I'm going to click and start a line, and then you can see that I find a tangent point on this side, or if I go over to this side I can find another tangent point. And a tangent point is where that line just touches one point of that circle. Tangents can also show up on arcs, but it has to be a curved surface in order to use a tangent. My nearest object snap looks like a little hourglass, and when I use it, if my cursor gets near an object, you can see my nearest icon light up. The purpose of using nearest is to make sure that my line is snapped to the other object. It's not critical the angle or exactly where it connects, but I do know that I've created an intersection where that line meets the other object. So nearest guarantees that I have my line snap to the other object. My parallel object snap allows me to draw lines that are parallel to other objects. It has an icon of two parallel lines. So I'm going to start a line, and then I'm going to hesitate over this line, and I can see my parallel icon light up. Now as I move away, an apparent line is created that locks me in, so I can create a line that's parallel to that one. If I wanted a line parallel to this one, I come over and see my parallel object snap. I come down until a vector is created. I can extend along that vector or use direct distance entry. I can click parallel to this line. There's my parallel vector. I can extend along that vector. And so it allows me to draw lines parallel to other objects in my drawing.